The cylinder cake is the most common and popular cake shape. It also happens to be the easiest to frost. To start, begin with a cold cake on a turntable. First, add a thin crumb coat of buttercream. This is an optional step that's only necessary for wedding cakes. Using a small offset spatula, push the frosting out evenly until most of it hangs just over the edge of the cake. Then spread it down the sides. Once the cake is fully covered, work the spatula from the bottom up to the top to create a lip of frosting around the edge of the cake. This crumb coat won't be seen once the cake is finished, so it doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be thin and tight against the cake. Because this is the crumb coat, I'm trying to use as much as I can of the buttercream that I gave myself to start with, so that I don't have too much leftover crummy frosting. What little I do end up removing from the top of the cake is scraped off into a bowl of frosting that's reserved only for crumb coating. Chill the cake in the refrigerator for at least 10 minutes. Then add a second, thicker coat of buttercream. Now I'm using a medium-sized offset spatula to apply the final coat. Again, the idea is to push the frosting out evenly over the edges of the cake, and then work it down the sides. In this case, I didn't put quite enough frosting on the cake, so I've added a little bit more. I gently go over the sides of the cake with a bench scraper at this point because it quickly reveals any place where the covering is too thin. At this stage, patch all the major holes and fortify the thinner areas with extra buttercream. Now I'm working the bench scraper up the sides of the cake, from the bottom to the top, using it like a spatula to distribute the frosting as evenly as possible over the finish. Then I level off the top lip of the cake with an offset spatula. This is the hardest part, and definitely takes some practice. It helps at this stage to clean off the spatula between each swipe. Note how I angle the spatula just slightly. That helps it glide across the top of the cake without catching. Kind of like how a snowboard always needs to be on one edge or the other while carving through snow. It's the same here, where you're better off using only the edge of the blade instead of the whole flat bottom of it. Now here's the point where it's easy to get carried away trying to perfect the finish, when the best thing to do is to put the cake in the refrigerator for an hour or until the buttercream has hardened into a shell. Then use a bench scraper to whittle down the sides to a smooth finish. Holding the bench scraper straight up and down often leaves drag marks, so it helps to angle it slightly. I know it's hard to see here, but I am angling the bench scraper just a little bit. Again, a lip should form around the top edge of the cake, and that should be removed with some calculated strokes of a clean offset spatula. If there are any mistakes still showing at this stage, you can patch them and run the cake through another round of chilling and scraping. In the end, allow the cake to set up in the refrigerator again for another hour before proceeding with the decorating. Here's another example of the final coat coming together as shown from a different vantage point, so you can see how angled the bench scraper is. And here's a trick that can be used in the end for cleaning off the working platform of extra buttercream.